Okay, gentlemen, we've moved inside now into the actual mine. So, Paul, I think I'd like to start with you on this one. We're going to be bringing up, I'm calling them clusters, probably not the right terminology, but can you walk us through some of the hardware similar to like what you did outside, some of the hardware we're seeing in this part of the mine?
Sure, Jared. So now that we're underground, you're going to see many of the same components. Underground, we don't need the microwave dish that you saw because all of the equipment down here will be interconnected using fiber optic cables in this particular facility. But the rest of the components you're going to see, we've got both 4G and 5G antennas. Those are the small panel antennas, the little squares that you can see up on the ceiling. Behind those, they're now plugged into the radio unit itself. So those two components are taking the analog signal, they're transmitting the analog signal. They're powered up at the ceiling themselves. In this case, they're AC powered, but they can also use DC power. The fiber optic cables from that cluster are now then fed back into our head end, we would call it. Inside the head end, you're going to see the rest of the radio equipment. So when I talk about the radios, we got antennas. You've now got the radio unit itself, and then there's something called the baseband. All those components make up sort of the totality of the radio system. At home, your listeners are probably more familiar to something like Wi-Fi. All those components are inside that small Wi-Fi, but in a cell network, they're broken apart because they need to be more powerful. They need to be able to handle more users. So for example, a 4G radio, we can have 100,000 devices on a 4G radio. On a 5G radio, which we also have in this particular facility, you can have 1 million simultaneous devices. So they're really built to scale. And so inside our head end room here, what you can see is there's two cabinets. On the right-hand side, lots of blinking lights. Those are the basebands. The radio units, we have 8 in this particular facility, are each coming back through fiber optic cable to that baseband. It's that baseband that's allowing us to have that many devices, all the throughput that you might need for.
It's taking them into individual, I mean, I'm sorry for the really layman way, but it's like individual streams of.
It's taking all that analog data and it's digitizing it, and it's able to do it, like you're saying, simultaneously across thousands and thousands of connections, where something like Wi-Fi has all the same components. It's just not designed to have that type of scale. And so the performance starts to drop off as soon as you get 5, 10, 15 devices using any type of throughput. That's really just the difference. They're all the same components. One is designed to scale much further, and that's really what we use in our cell networks here. So all the blinking lights are the basebands. So we've got antennas. And actually, there's one more component that's not here underground that I didn't mention on the surface. All cell networks need a GPS signal. We use that for clock. Mobile devices plus the radios and moving between cells takes exact synchronization. So a GPS is what gives us that clock signal. That would be up on that cell tower outside, and we'd retransmit that signal underground to give us that synchronization that we need for proper cell phone communications. So you've got your GPS, you've got your antenna, the radio unit, fiber optic cable, going back to your baseband. Now you have your complete radio system. Now we want to do something with it. So the cabinet on the left, very similar, lots of blinking lights, and there's servers in there. That's where we're running what's called the packet core. And that could be a 4G core, it could be a 5G core, it could be 4 and 5G. This particular one is designed as a 4G core at this facility. That takes all the information and sends it out to wherever you want it to go. That could be the internet, that could be your private data center. Wherever you want us to send the location, we'll direct it from the back of this cabinet out through your particular facilities. The packet core also takes care of all the subscriber information, so you don't want just anybody getting onto your cellular network. And because this is private by nature, the core has all the subscribers. So there's a whole database in there saying this SIM is allowed onto this network, this SIM is allowed to communicate here. So the core takes care of all of that functions. And it's worth noting, I'm using the word packet core. There's really no such thing as one individual component that you buy that's called a core. It's made up of several different components, but in the industry generally called a packet core. So it has subscriber databases, it has P gateways, S gateways in a 4G world. But for simplicity's sake, we'll just call this the packet core. It's the brain of the system that takes that radio data and allows you to transmit and receive.